Hello, and welcome to another episode of Mental Health Mondays with Dr. David Morgan. I am here to answer your questions, and I'm grateful to Onward Productions for providing this platform to do it. Um, if you have questions for me, that's where you can send them onward.mental.health.mondays@gmail.com. And this can be any question you have about mental health issues, about the gospel and mental health, and I'm happy to answer that. So I'd love to get your questions and love to find answers to them. So for this week, there is a question from a reader, and she asks about the role of agency and accountability in emotional healing. Um, she says that she's been in counseling for a while, and she's been kind of trying to study the difference between her emotional and rational or logical brains, and asks, how does agency and accountability help us heal emotionally? It's a fantastic question and very relevant to the practice of mental health and also very relevant to the gospel of Jesus Christ. So let's talk about those two terms that she uses, the emotional brain and the logical brain. So we just have one brain, obviously, but it approaches things in different ways at times. Our emotional brain approaches things like you would guess based on emotion. And the problem with our emotions is that they can change very rapidly. They can be altered by very, very small things. And so if we're using our emotions to make significant or even insignificant decisions, that can be a problem because we might make a decision in a moment when we're angry or when we're sad, and then later realize that was a very bad decision. The logical brain is that kind of that part of our brain or that approach to life where you take some time to think things out. If you've ever heard the statement, never make a decision when you're angry, that's totally true and very, very good advice. Wait until you calm down, think about it, look at all of the details, look at all of the elements that could influence your decision, and then go from there. I'll give you an example. The other day I woke up and I was really looking forward to exercising that day and maybe going out and taking a walk or something like that. But the forecast called for rain. And so my emotional brain thought, oh, this is terrible. My day is ruined. I'm not going to be able to get my workout in. So that could have had the potential to kind of ruin my whole day. But my logical brain said, hold on, step back, take a minute and look at it. So I looked at the forecast, turned out in the afternoon, it wasn't supposed to rain as much. I also have a treadmill in the garage that I could use to exercise if I want to. So using that more logical approach to it was helpful to help me at least approach the situation in a more reasoned way. Um, Elder Corbridge, this is a really, really great talk. If you want to go read it, it's Elder Lawrence Corbridge, and the talk is called Stand Forever. It was a BYU devotional. And so if you Google that, Google Lawrence Corbridge, Stand Forever, you'll find it. It should be the first link. And it's one of my favorite talks. And he said, I'm paraphrasing, he said that the challenge is not closing the gap between our beliefs and our actions. The challenge is closing the gap between our beliefs and the truth. He's saying that sometimes people say, well, I don't always act in accordance with what I believe. And that's true. But he said that what we really need to do is make sure that our beliefs are lined up with the truth, that what we think is as close to truth as possible. Because if we think things that are incorrect, if our belief system is based on incorrect information, then we're going to make decisions that are incorrect almost by default because we're basing it on faulty information. So as far as that relates to the gospel of Jesus Christ and mental health, make sure that you fill your mind with truth. And the best way to get truth, quite frankly, is through the scriptures and the words of living prophets. And then as your mind starts to absorb those truths, then your logical brain will help kind of gain control over your emotional brain. When talking about agency and accountability, when I do therapy with people, I often notice that sometimes they're very interested in wanting to get to the bottom of things. Like they want to find out what is it that's causing my mental health issues. And I think that's reasonably helpful. In the way that I do therapy, it's not super helpful in the long run, because I tend to focus quite a bit on what can we do today to get out of the problem that we're in. Sometimes people in those situations, they're looking for someone to blame or something to blame. They say, if I can figure out what is it or who is it that caused me to be this way, then I can, maybe I can blame them. Maybe they just want to know. But like I said, I don't think it's very helpful in the long run, because even when we figured out what caused things, we're still stuck with the problem that we have. Um, to use an example, it's like sitting on the side of the road. Let's say you're driving somewhere and you run out of gas, and maybe it was your friend's turn or your spouse's turn to fill up the tank, and she didn't or he didn't, or maybe it was your turn. So you could sit there and argue about whose responsibility it was that the gas tank is empty. At the end of the day, you still have to fill up the tank. That's the only way you're going to get moving, is when you take responsibility and fill up the tank. Lucifer has assaulted our agency from the very, very beginning. That was his whole point in the pre-existence. He wanted Heavenly Father to suspend agency, or for him to be able to suspend agency, so that he could just kind of take over our lives. He was unsuccessful in that. And so I think what he has done in the meantime is he has taken that fight to a very individual level. And so Satan now, he's not interested in eliminating agency altogether, because he knows he can't do that. But what he tries to do is he tries to eliminate it at the individual level. So if he can get you or I to decide that it's someone else's fault, or that we're not accountable for change, then he gets us stuck. So if we're sitting in that car that's out of gas, and Satan says, hey, it's not your fault that the tank is empty, someone else's fault. You should wait here until that person takes responsibility and comes and fills up the tank. And we think, yeah, that's right. That's not my fault. I shouldn't have to fill up the tank myself, because it's not my fault it's empty. Well, that may be true, but you're still sitting in a car that's not going anywhere. So that's one of the ways that Satan gets at our agency, is he gets us not to exercise it. And when you choose not to choose, you are effectively just kind of blocking your agency, which is what Satan wanted to do from the beginning, but now he's getting you to do it. Elder D. Todd Christofferson gave this quote. It's a great quote. He said, God intends that his children should act according to the moral agency he has given them, that every man may be accountable for his own sins in the day of judgment. It is his plan and his will that we have the principal decision-making role in our own life's drama. Let me say that one more time. It is his, Heavenly Father's, plan and his will that we have the principal decision-making role in our own life's drama. Heavenly Father wants us to be actors and not observers. He wants us to be people that fill the tank with gas, and not people that sit in the car and complain why the gas tank is empty. That is one of the most effective ways for us to address our mental health issues, is to figure out what's wrong, what needs to be done to change, and then to do that change. Now, I totally understand that many times the mental health issues we face are not our own fault. They're oftentimes the fault of someone else, or some just circumstance we have very little control over, but we're the ones responsible to change. When we take accountability for our own change, that puts us in the driver's seat, and then we can move forward. If we yield that driver's seat to someone else, then we lose our agency. And as opposed to being actors, we are observers in our own life's drama. And you don't want to be in that situation. You want to be on the stage and not in the audience in your life. You want to be calling the shots and not watching someone else call the shots. So I really appreciate that question. And just remind you that regardless of the situation, don't be the observer, be the actor. Take accountability, exercise your agency to do something today, to feel better, to move forward. And that is how we improve in our lives. That is how we move forward step by step, by us making choices that will help bless us. Thanks again to everyone for watching. I appreciate this, and I hope this is helpful to you. I'd love your feedback. You can reach me on Instagram at LDS Psychologist, or on my website at www.ldspsychologist.com. So remember, just like I always say, you can change, and change requires action. And keep moving forward. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.